Hey, light being. So, um, today I wanted to talk about the boldness of faith and understanding what being bold means. And I was sitting here and I was like contemplating and thinking, like, how do I want to approach this message, or how do I want to relay this message, because I wasn't sure if I had enough information. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine today in the car as we were approaching our destination. I was picking up my baby girl, and um we were, talking about the sins of the mother and the sins of the father, or the inheritance of the mother and the father on our children. And we were talking about reflections of ourselves and our children, and the reflection of our children's view or vantage point of us as parents. And we were talking about just wanting our children to have the best from situations, or just better than what we ourselves had experienced as children ourselves. And the message that I wanted to focus on today was the boldness of faith. And I was just like, well, how do I approach this? What do I say? Or how do I break it down where it makes sense and not be so just long-winded? And then just making sure, like I said, I had enough information to actually relay this message in this video, because lately life has been lifing as usual. And I just was like really just contemplating and thinking about um how we as people approach our situations that we're dealing with in our lives. And I'm really big on showing up and being accountable for yourself, and being accountable for your actions, and being accountable for how we present ourselves in society, or present ourselves in the world, how we project ourselves to be. And lately I am, or I have been learning about being bold, right? And being bold in my approach. And what I was learning was that boldness is faith in action, right? So like when you are moving through life, there's always going to be obstacles of some kind, or like restrictions of some kind, right? It's always going to be something that's going to come up that is going to make you either second guess, question, or just doubt yourself, right? And when you have those moments, it's not to stop you or hinder you from your action, or what action you're attempting or beginning to take, or steps that you're beginning to move in. It's about your intensity and your trust, that you are going to apply when you are beginning to take that step or that movement in that direction, right? And so I was really sitting here contemplating, because I've had this message now for maybe a week or two, maybe 2 weeks now. And I was just like, I want to record, I want to record, I want to record. Yet I wasn't sure what I was going to say, right? I was like, I normally have the gift to give, like I can go. Yet for some reason, I was just like, I don't know how to. I like, even now, I'm somewhat flabbergasted as to how to just say what needs to be said without saying it, or say what needs to be said with saying it. And um, the whole point or gist of what it is I'm seeking to talk about today is being bold. When you are seeking to move in a direction, you have to be bold. You have to have the audacity and the notion that I was going to say English, the notion to know that when you move, that you are moving in the right direction, right? Because many of us, we stand in our own way and we contemplate and think and like attempt to digest how other people are going to receive us, or how other people are going to think of us, or how other people are going to, you know, just digest what it is we are attempting to say and or do. And what I learned, and it was funny because she was like, she had said, my friend, she was like, whatever people think is none of your business. And she's right. What other people think about your decision and what other people's opinions are of you is none of your business. Your mission or your goal in this life is simply yours. And if you are not willing to be bold in your approach, meaning if you're not willing to take that step or that leap without thinking about it, without being cautious, without being, doubtful or second guess that whole thing, you are stagnating yourself. You are staunching or stunting your own growth. And not just your growth, but you are also stunting and and discarding the vision that God has for you, right? So when God wants to move you in a certain direction, or God wants to lift you up or raise you up, he's willing to do so when you are willing to take the action, when you're willing to take that step or that movement or make that movement in the direction that you are talking about, or the direction that you were thinking about or contemplating, right? And so when you are not bold in that decision, and when you don't trust that decision, it sends a signal and it sends an indication out to God and source and energy that says, I don't trust you. I don't believe. I don't have faith. I don't know where it is you're attempting to take me. And so the scripture says to have a vision and make it plain. And although many of us have a vision and we see things or we want things or we desire things to be a certain way, many of the times we are fearful to take that step because we are trying to contemplate or we are anticipating the outcome. And when you are bold and you are moving in faith, you don't second guess or question what the outcome is going to be. You take the step, you move, and you trust that things are going to work out for you or for your greater good or for the greater good. And so, like, for me lately, I have been standing in my own way. And a lot of times, a lot of us do that consciously and subconsciously because it's like, I don't want to make another mistake, or I don't want to do the wrong thing, or I've already done this. And when I did it this time, it didn't turn out right. So I'm not sure if I should do it again or if I should try again. And the saying is nothing beats a failure but a try, right? And I say, well, trying is a failing word, right? Trying is a failing word. And so it made me hesitate to record because I was just like, well, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? How am I going to talk about being bold if I myself am struggling with being bold in my own life, right? And that is the perfect message to relay because we all need encouragement. right? We all need some type or sort of motivation. And so one of my coworkers, I love um her analogy says you always have to find your why. You have to remember your why. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to do this? Why are you attempting to move in this direction? What goal are you seeking to accomplish or acquire, right? And so it had me really sitting here and thinking, and I've been really thinking on this for the last, like I said, 2 or maybe 3 weeks. How do I relay this message? How do I tell somebody else or assist somebody else, excuse me, in being bold when I am not doing it, right? And it's not that I'm not doing it to the capacity in which I know I can't. Well, let's just correct that. It's not that I'm not attempting to move or I'm not taking steps to move. I'm taking baby steps, right? And sometimes taking baby steps prolongs the blessing that God is wanting to put in front of you or that God is wanting to give to you or deliver to you. So when you have a decision to make and when you have a direction that you're wanting to go in, you have to know that that direction that you're attempting to move in and that step that you are about to take is the right thing to do. Even if it's not the right thing to do, you are going to know because you're going to feel it, right? A lot of things are stimulated by feeling, by emotion. And so we were talking about our children and we were talking about our sons specifically and how our sons are attempting to make changes in their lives and they're growing and they're becoming independent and they're recognizing the lessons that we are relaying upon them and they are recognizing the drive that we're attempting to pour into them and distill in them. And what we had come to disclose in that conversation was that we ourselves have to be bold too. Many times it is difficult for us to be bold in our approach and to step out on faith and just move because we are looking for an example to kind of guide us. And right now, where we are right now in our growth and development in terms of spirit and the collective consciousness, we are in a space or place of the unknown, right? And being in that space or place of the unknown, a lot of times it creates a level or um a perception of fear, right? False evidence appearing real. And so I wanted to talk about this because it's imperative that we know that, it's imperative that you know that being bold doesn't mean you have the answers. Being bold doesn't mean that you know what the outcome is going to be. Being bold means just doing it like Nike, just do it, right? And so when you are bold in your faith, that means you are bold in your trust, you are bold in your understanding, you're bold in your knowledge, and you're bold in your acceptance of what it is that has already been instilled in you. You are, in essence, taking a leap to just flourish, to just be yourself despite or regardless of what anybody else has to say. And something that has been coming up for me is that, we tend to look outside of ourselves for the answer to a lot of what we're dealing with, a lot of our problems or a lot of our trials and tribulations and things that we struggle with. We're always looking for the answer outside of us, or we're always gauging how far to go or how much to do because of someone else's perception or projection upon us, right? And so I was like, well, what do I need to do to be different? What do I need to do to push past that? What do I need to do to stand up for myself, right? To stand out for myself, to set an example, to relay this information. And I kept hearing the boldness of faith, the boldness of faith, the boldness of faith. And I was like, well, what is the boldness of faith? And the boldness of faith is the the epitome of trust, trusting in yourself, trusting in your capabilities, trusting in your ability, trusting in the knowledge of knowing yourself and knowing who you are and where you see yourself versus where you actually currently are. And so, excuse me, when you are bold, excuse me, when you are bold, you are in essence saying, I already know who I am and I already know how I'm going to show up. So I'm just going to do it. And you're not contemplating or caring or thinking about the outcome because you are already there. And so a lot of times, people will say, have a vision board or make a vision board or write it down or take the baby steps or do a goal setting or goal planning process or whatever the case may be, or brainstorm, different things you can do so that you can measure your growth, right? And so I took a moment and I took a step back. And lately I'm big on being in hermit mode, right? So I was like, I'm gonna take a step back and really process this for myself. Like, how can I be bold? And being bold means to not care, to not care about what other people think, to not care about what other people say, to not care about their opinions of you, to not care about what people say about you. You have to be so confident in you that nothing shakes your core. Nothing alters the essence of who you are. And the only way for you to know who you are is to take the time to sit down and be still and be one with you. So I implore you to sit with yourself, to contemplate who you are, to know what you are good at and what you're not so good at, to know, what to say and what not to say, how to say it, how not to say it, how to do it, how not to do it, right? And then when you do that, don't think about what anybody else's opinion is, because when you start to think of someone else's opinion or how they're going to receive you, you put yourself in a box. And not only do you put yourself in a box, you block off your perception and you block your blessings, right? It was a conversation that I was having with my son um yesterday or the day before yesterday. Maybe it was even last night. I'm not even sure. It was recent though. And my son had a conversation with some friends in his little group chat or whatever. He was working on something and he asked his peers for their constructive criticism, right? Just on the idea of what he wanted to talk about, not on the logistics of how it was organized or whatever the case may be, but he was asking just for their opinion of the topic. Do you think this is a good topic I should talk about? Do you think this is a good topic that I should focus on? It's not something that I want to work on right here, right now, but this is something that was playing in my mind and I wanted some feedback. And so he posed his information in their chat and his friend gave him feedback. And not only did he give him the feedback that he was looking for, however, he went beyond and gave him extra. And so my son was mad. I ain't asking for this and I ain't asking for that. And he always got to go above and beyond. And he always got to, I said, pause. Think about that. I said, first and foremost, you asked it, you asked a trusted friend of yours for constructive criticism and feedback. This person decided to not just list the constructive criticism and feedback in which you were asking for. However, this person also went beyond that and gave you different perspectives and points that you could look at or that you could consider in the process of what it is you were working on. And so my son was like, but I didn't ask for that. And sometimes you're doing too much. And sometimes you just gotta let the person fall and go through what they have to go through, because sometimes you just telling them is not gonna help them learn. And I say, you know what? I give you that. Because for me growing up when I was 17, 18, 19 years old, you can tell me shit. And it wasn't that I wasn't listening to you. It wasn't that I wasn't hearing what you were saying. It wasn't that I wasn't perceiving your perception. It was just that I see what you're saying and I hear what you're saying, but I'm going this way with it. I see what you're saying and I hear what you're talking about, but I want to do it this way. Right? I don't want to do it the way that you're saying it to me. And I thank you, but I really don't need that. Right? And what I had to explain to him was that you're blocking your blessings. You were bold enough to ask the question, be bold enough to receive the answer. So I use that and I want to tap onto that because we as people typically want to do things or typically want to express ourselves a certain way or typically want to show up a certain way. Yet, we also want to make sure that when we're doing these things that it's receptive, that it's accepted by others, that we are being well received or that we are being understood, right? Because it's kind of like human design. Excuse me. It's kind of like human design wanting to excuse me, I just Lord. It's wanting to be a part or included in things, right? And so what I'm learning is that you don't have to be. You're not designed to always be a part of the collective to a degree. You're not designed to always be a part of the group. You are designed to stand out because there is only one you. You were divinely created to be exactly who you are. And when you question who you are and you question your essence and your greatness, or you question yourself in a sense of not wanting to evolve, you are in essence challenging God and his perfect design, because we are perfectly and perfectly created. And we were created the way we were created because consciousness wanted to perceive us the way that we are. And so when we say to ourselves or when we say to others, I don't know if I want to do this, or I don't know if I should try this, or I don't know if, this is going to be the right thing, you are in essence doubting your creation. You are in essence stunning your own growth. You are boxing yourself in and you're putting yourself in a space where you are just tunnel vision, right? And so I challenge you to take down the blinders and allow yourself to see everything, to perceive it without the guardrails or the guidelines of your perception. However, to attempt to perceive it from the perception of a higher power or from a higher vantage point or from a higher source, right? And so, in essence, in doing that, you have to be bold enough to take down your walls and to challenge yourself to show up and be in the spotlight and not be fearful or question or concerned with what someone else has to say or think about you. So, in doing that, that also means that you have to trust who you are. You have to trust and understand your creation, right? You have to really receive yourself unto yourself and receive what God has instilled or designed within you to make you you. So I implore you to be bold in your expression of self. Be bold in your choice of word. And do not concern yourself with someone else's opinion of you, or someone else's thought of you, or someone else's perception of you. Because when you begin to do that, you are now taking yourself outside of yourself and putting yourself in someone else's shoes, and you are agreeing or touching and agreeing to someone else's perception or misperception of you. Like, it is important for you to know, like, you, right? And when you are boldly yourself, you are comfortable in your own skin. And you are simply just who you are. And you don't care what people say. And you don't care what people think. You're just you. And what winds up happening is that you begin to attract the things to you that are for you. And you make space for the things that you deserve, and the things that deserve to be in your presence or in your space. So be bold. Be bold in your faith. Be bold in your knowledge of yourself. Be bold in the expression of yourself. Be bold in your understanding of yourself. And most importantly, trust and know who you are. So that was a short, quick message. I pray that it's received. Always remember to thine own self be true, and let no one stop you from being you and who you were created to be. So, peace.